Welcome to Crypto Minutes, your daily cryptocurrency news for February 26, 2019, presented in short videos for easy listening. We source a minimum of 5 of the best trending articles of the day, from popular news aggregator CryptoPanic.com. Timestamps and the original articles can be found in the description links below.
Nasdaq listing of BNC's Bitcoin and Ethereum liquidity indices goes live. Nasdaq, the leading benchmark for U.S. technology equity, launched Brave new coins Bitcoin and Ethereum liquidity indexes (BLX and ELX) on its platform, which hosts 4,000 global indices. BNC is also close to launching an XRP liquid index, tracking Ripple's crypto asset. A week after the first major crypto announcement of 2019, Nasdaq today started its listing of Brave new coins BLX and ELX indices for Bitcoin and Ethereum. This institutional endorsement is what investors have been waiting for, as Nasdaq has plans to launch a Bitcoin futures market alongside Intercontinental Exchange's ICE-backed futures market, which was due to launch on its platform on January 23 but has since been pushed back to an undetermined date in Q2 2019. Efforts are still underway by several vendors to bring the first Bitcoin or Ethereum ETF to the U.S. market. BNC's liquid index (LUX) indices are part qualitative and part quantitative, factoring in the stability and quality of constituency as well as the volume, book depth, tick size and other factors from the qualified market participants, to calculate a fair global value for the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum, expressed in USD, every 30 seconds. The methodology adds to the transparency of pricing crypto assets, a concern that has prevented regulators in approving retail products. BNC is in the final stages of producing the RLX Ripple Liquid Index and is working with a range of market participants to create custom basket indices. XRP was today listed on Coinbase Pro, which many view as a form of institutional endorsement for the asset, as Coinbase Pro is a leading global exchange that serves high-end traders and investors. The LUX program was born out of a need for clear and transparent price discovery of liquid cryptographic assets and is a bigger need today than it was back in 2015 when we started this program, said Fran Strajnar, CEO of BNC. XRP got the renowned Coinbase pump on news of the listing, which brought it up to 33 cents C from 30 cents C. Currently Coinbase Pro isn't part of the constituents of the global price of XRP, but given enough trading volume on the exchange it could become part of the RLX. The LUX family of BNC indices has had its methodology independently audited against key IOSCO International Organization of Securities Commissions principles, says Strajnar. BNC endorses the IOSCO principles and fully embraces the IOSCO's goals of addressing the obvious conflicts of interest in the benchmark setting process, which the nascent crypto industry is vulnerable to. The crypto derivative wave is inevitable. Once custody was solved, first with Fidelity's announcements last November, and now with indices that align with IOSCO principles being available through the Nasdaq, there's going to be a rush to produce all manner of financial instruments, which the institutional users have been asking for almost 3 years now, added Strajnar. We are in talks with a range of market participants and hope to be able to share further developments on this front very soon. Russia has approached crypto with caution and trepidation, for the most part seeing the emerging asset class negatively. Regulation is slowly falling into place, though it is far from as advanced as other European countries like Malta and Switzerland. However, some interesting news has come out of the nation, as a local media source Rambler reported that Russia's State Duma, the lower half of its parliamentary body, is finalizing cryptocurrency regulations, while also intending to launch its own cryptocurrency backed by oil, much like Venezuela. Oleg Nikolaev, member of the State Duma Committee on Economic Policy, confirmed that the body was nearing the completion of a regulatory framework, which is expected sometime in March. Also speaking to Rambler was former Energy Minister Igor Yusufov, who justified the creation of an oil-backed cryptocurrency in the wake of economic sanctions. After the launch of the cryptocurrency platform, oil-producing countries will be able to maneuver with respect to financial and trade restrictions, which have become too many in recent years. Based on this, the project will bring the greatest benefit to OPEC Plus countries, including Russia, which will be able to increase oil and gas exports. As for whether the decision to launch the crypto will face resistance, the response was blunt. There is always resistance. But if you pay attention to him, you will have to mark time. Time is such that we cannot afford it anymore. Otherwise you have to catch up. In the world, everyone has already appreciated the opportunities provided by cryptocurrency. Gabor Gurbax, Director of Digital Asset Strategies at VanEck, said that the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has given the green light to 8 nations to launch their own cryptocurrency, and that coincides with Russia's decision to launch an oil-backed crypto. Bitcoin is more than a speculative asset to people in Venezuela. Most Bitcoin hodlers may be wondering when Lambo and when Moon, but in parts of Latin America, and particularly Venezuela, Bitcoin is saving people's lives. Bitcoin went on tearing breakout on Sunday, trading at over $4,200, its highest in 2019. But for any Latin Americans and Venezuelans, in particular, Bitcoin isn't a speculative asset for getting rich quick, it's a lifeline. Bitcoinist has reported several times over the course of the last year about the uptick in Venezuelans, Colombians, and other countries in Latin America buying Bitcoin. In fact, the volume of Venezuelans buying Bitcoin has steadily increased for more than 12 months, bar the week of February 16, which saw a somewhat unexplained drop. With such a marked rise often characterized by dramatic spikes from one week to the next, we even speculated over whether Venezuelans and Argentinians were buying the dip back in December 2018. But we were wrong. It's so much more than that. The situation continues to worsen in this bruised and damaged country, and Maduro has now decided to sever all ties with the Colombian border over the weekend, cutting off the last lifeline to Venezuelans seeking refuge. "I've decided to sever all ties with the fascist government of Colombia," he stated, before dancing on national television as armed guards fired at people trying to move humanitarian aid into the country. So, despite the price hike yesterday followed by a swift correction, Venezuelans are buying Bitcoins. And it isn't to see how high the price will go, or a way of making money. It's to actually purchase things. Not Lambos, not million-dollar yachts, just basic staples we take for granted, like milk and flour. Bitcoin is more than a speculative asset. There may be an exceptionally large percentage of Bitcoin hodlers waiting for the price to go back up. Look no further than John McAfee's extreme optimism. And he's certainly not the only one. Anyone with a decent stack of Bitcoins or Satoshis remains quietly confident despite the bear that the price will kick off in earnest again. These are not the people living in dictatorial countries exchanging small amounts of Satoshis to buy food. According to Venezuelan economist Carlos Hernandez, in an essay in the New York Times yesterday, Bitcoin has saved his family. He doesn't state his age in the article, but he does mention that he is now her family's breadwinner. This is thanks to his ability to transact small amounts of Bitcoin and buy food for his family. His father works in a factory. But earning in a currency with a yearly inflation rate of 1.7 million%, he takes home around $6 per month. He had tried to be a lawyer, but professionals facing this kind of indescribable hyperinflation only get poorer. They have to look for any other option they can find to survive. His mother has no income, and Hernandez states, "Cryptocurrencies helped my brother Juan, 28, escape Venezuela last summer." Hernandez himself was able to buy milk by using the local Bitcoin site and finding a buyer for his Bitcoins. He converts them into bolivars and then runs like mad to buy whatever he can get his hands on before they lose their value. He says, "I keep all of my money in Bitcoin. Keeping it in bolivars would be financial suicide. Bitcoin is putting food on the table. For those trapped in Venezuela, life is daily struggle and supplies are getting scarce. The outside world is also getting further out of reach. Freelancers, for example, can no longer use a payment method such as PayPal since local controls only allow Venezuelan banks to use local currency. More and more Venezuelans are finding some source of sanctuary in using cryptocurrency. In this part of the world, it isn't an overstatement to say that Bitcoin is saving people's lives. And we can only hope that it continues. For while Hernandez is able to just about feed her family, for now, he can't exchange too much Bitcoin at once. The government doesn't monitor cryptocurrency yet. But it does monitor transactions in bolivars. Any worth about $50 or more will automatically freeze your account until you can explain to your bank where the funds come from. So while the rest of us hodl and fret over getting wrecked on a trade or asking when Moon, in Venezuela, we are poignantly reminded of Bitcoin's real, true worth. Borderless money is more than a buzzword for those of us who live in a collapsing economy and a collapsing dictatorship. Mercedes-Benz goes full throttle with blockchain adoption. A new blockchain code developed by Mercedes-Benz and Istris will allow the automaker to better manage its supply chain and fight against counterfeit hardware sneaking into its vehicles. Mercedes-Benz has just become one of the first global auto manufacturers to have incorporated blockchain technology into its supply chain. The company launched the prototype of its new blockchain-powered system developed in collaboration with Istris, an enterprise contract management platform. The primary objective of this initiative is to simplify the automaker's complex supply chain and doesn't yet carry any retail element. Pilot program begins. Mercedes-Benz, or for that matter any major automaker anywhere, usually relies on intricate supply chains. The larger and the more complex the chain is, the harder it gets to manage it, which can then lead to operational inefficiencies and errors. And that's where blockchain can come to the rescue. The auto giant is confident that the new blockchain prototype will allow transparent mapping and understanding of the transmission of contracts throughout the entire supply chain. The modus operandi of the new system is much akin to that of any blockchain-powered accounting or financial system. If a sub-supplier fails to comply with their contractual obligations at any point, it will reflect on the blockchain. The prototype has been developed already and is currently deployed at select few suppliers under a pilot project. The company is gathering feedback and waiting for the approval of suppliers and partners before pushing ahead with a full-fledged rollout. Wilco Stark, member of the Divisional Board of Management Mercedes-Benz Cars, Purchasing and Supplier Quality, briefly touched upon the merit of the move by saying, "Blockchain technology has the potential to fundamentally revolutionize our procurement processes and could affect nearly the entire value chain. Global supply chains are becoming increasingly complex. With our blockchain prototype, we are in the first step testing one of the diverse possible applications with the aim of increasing transparency beyond our direct suppliers." Sabine Angerman, head of purchasing and supplier quality for raw materials and strategy, added, "The transmission of contracts to each member of the supply chain is the prerequisite of cooperation with our suppliers, especially in terms of sustainability and ethical conduct. The blockchain prototype opens up completely new ways to make purchasing processes simpler and safer." Among other perks, the new system will benefit all partners in the supply chain by enabling seamless tracing of raw materials and components. Because the real impact of a blockchain system depends a lot on the quality of data, the auto giant is already in talks with all its suppliers to figure a mutually beneficial way to push the technology across its supply chain. Blockchain adoption will help automakers encountering phony hardware. Counterfeit auto parts that are subpar in quality and yet authentic in appearance often sneak into auto supply chains. This phony hardware eventually makes its way into dealer service centers, and then into vehicles of customers. This is a somewhat common issue that not only seriously damages the reputation of dealer services, but also dents the average consumer's perception of the auto brand in question. The use of blockchain can help prevent such uncalled-for occurrences by generating distinctive identification for each hardware part and assigning timestamps for their journey through the supply chain. Besides deterring the spread of counterfeit parts, the tags on individual parts can also help owners of vehicles to learn which parts have been changed out. Additionally, it also makes things easier for manufacturers to execute recalls, or for the service centers to accurately identify when a particular part approaches the end of its lifespan. Dubai's property giant has confirmed they sent an email to their agents which says property purchases can now be paid in Bitcoin or ETH through Bitcoin Suisse. The email itself, forwarded to Trustnodes, is titled, "By MR Properties Using Bitcoin and Ethereum." It says, "We are pleased to announce now that all customers will be able to buy MR properties using digital currencies Bitcoin and Ethereum. The transaction will happen through one of the biggest brokers of digital currencies in the world, Bitcoin Suisse, who are regulated and based in Switzerland." The email clarified MR itself receives fiat as Bitcoin Suisse converts the crypto, with it further stating the agent is the one entering into an agreement with Bitcoin Suisse. That caused some confusion, with Bloomberg stating MR had denied plans to accept payments in digital currencies. Speaking to Trustnodes, MR said, "MR does not accept payment in cryptocurrency. MR only accepts payment in government-issued normal currency, primarily in AED and USD. Should you be interested in converting cryptocurrency for the purpose of purchasing real estate from MR, you may approach Bitcoin Suisse, a regulated financial intermediary based in Switzerland. It is entirely at Bitcoin Suisse discretion whether to enter into any agreement with a client, and Bitcoin Suisse does not actively promote the service or target customers residing in the UAE." Pressed on whether the email had been sent to agents which led to the initial reports, MR stated, "As we shared the details in the previous message. The email shared with the agents states the same. If they are interested in converting cryptocurrency for the purpose of purchasing real estate from MR, they may approach Bitcoin Suisse." MR's email to agents on Bitcoin and ETH, February 2019. Businesses usually accept Bitcoin or crypto payments through an intermediary like BitPay, Coinbase Merchants, or in this case Bitcoin Suisse, which has a similar service. They usually have a choice of whether to keep the funds in crypto or to convert it into fiat. In this case MR doesn't directly accept crypto itself, presumably due to volatility, but you can now buy their properties with Bitcoin or ETH through one of their agents who arrange it through Bitcoin Suisse. This option wasn't previously available. You would have had to convert it into fiat yourself, while now you can pay in Bitcoin or ETH. Making MR the biggest property developer to provide this option, with Dubai's giant handling $6 billion in yearly revenue, suggesting crypto adoption and awareness in the region is significantly increasing.
Thank you for listening to Crypto Minutes. This is not financial advice. If you enjoyed the articles, please click like, share and subscribe, or donate. See you tomorrow, for more breaking news.